Hello, today on Board Games, Bricks, and Hobbies, I'll be reviewing Metroid Dread. So, when Metroid Dread was announced, I was pretty excited because I love the Metroid games. I have the Metroid Prime trilogy. I played this through every 2 to 3 years because I like it that much. I also have Fusion and Zero Mission on the Game Boy Advance, and I really like the Metroid games. I definitely steer more towards the Prime trilogy because I really like how adventurous the first person aspect is. And I went all in on this game. I got the art cards, I got the book, I got the Collector's Deluxe Super whatever edition, right? I went all in on Metroid Dread. And I walked away disappointed. So yes, this is going to be a critical review. You can probably tell by the title of the video. So let's get into first what I do like about this game. One thing that I really like about the game is just how amazing it looks. It looks pretty good. And that's not even like saying it looks good for a Switch game. It just looks good overall. And unfortunately, that's really the only good thing I have to say about it. Maybe I'll think of more things, but other than the fact that it looks nice, like, I guess the music's decent. It's definitely not anywhere near Prime level of epicness. They do reuse the Samus fanfare, and that's cool, but it just, yeah, it looks good. And now let's get into the cons. Alright, so the first thing I noticed about the game is that it doesn't really have a sense of exploration. And that was something that I really enjoyed from the Prime games, is that you can open up the scan visor, you can scan the environment, you can learn about things, and this game doesn't have that. And I know that 2D games generally didn't have that feature. There's no scanning, there's no looking up artifacts and lore and things like that. That's absent from the 2D games, but it's something that has been present in the mainline games on consoles up until now. And that's just disappointing. Not only that, but it also hinders exploration. Because in the Prime games, you could scan a crack in the wall and see what its weakness was, and if you didn't have the right weapon for it, you'd know to come back later. But you can't do that in this game, and so where to go is kind of just by chance. And I found myself having to look up guides several times just to know where to go. And that is not something I've ever had to do in the Prime Trilogy games. They were always a lot more straightforward, though not necessarily linear. Because I feel like some people might critique straightforwardness as being linear, and I don't think they are the same thing. There's a difference between being linear and just being straight up intuitive. And Dread is not intuitive. Take, for example, another game that I played recently, which is 2017's Prey. Amazing game. I would highly recommend playing that. And that game is pretty open-ended in some areas, but it also guides you along. And it's kind of always obvious what the next objective is. That's not clear in Metroid Dread. And I think that is unfavorable for it, especially coming off of the Prime games where there is so much lore and atmosphere and environment to take in. That's just not there in Dread. Next negative is the controls. The controls are absolute rubbish. And I even tried rewiring them. And it didn't work. No matter what combination of buttons I tried to assign, the controls were just not intuitive. And especially with the Emmys and the boss fights, a lot of the things you had to end up holding 5, I'm exaggerating here, but you basically had to hold down all the shoulder buttons and the triggers and then hope that you got the right shot. It's frustrating. And it's frustrating that there isn't even more options in I feel like even like a toggle option for missiles, or a toggle option for like I'm already forgetting the name of the stupid laser beam, the one that kills the Emmys, the Nova beam. I don't remember. But a toggle to just have that permanently active would have made it easier. And at least, or the option to have a toggle on off. It's just the lack of control customization is really a hindrance because they're not great. And that leads kind of into my number one problem with Metroid Dread, and that is that it's just far too difficult. Now, there's probably a bunch of people that are just going to be yelling "get good" at the screen right now, and you can leave. I don't want you here. But I have been able to play all the other all the other Metroid games and beat them, and I've been fine. This is the first game where I had to not play on normal. I had to turn it down to easy, and even then, I'm still having a hard time finishing it. Yes, I haven't finished the game because the bosses are cheap. And so many of the bosses rely on stupid QuickTime events. But you can beat them without it. Yes, I know. You can beat them without, most of them without QuickTime events. But it takes eons. And not only that, but the bosses in this game don't even have health bars. At least in the Prime games, when you were fighting Meta Ridley, you know you were a quarter of the way there when you died. You had some sort of semblance of progress and how well you were doing. With these bosses, there's no health bar. You have no idea how close you are to defeating them. And it's just annoyingly difficult for no reason. It's almost as if everyone just wanted to jump on the Dark Souls train, and Nintendo was like, yeah, let's do that for Metroid. And I play video games to enjoy them. I do enjoy a challenge. Obviously, if a game is too easy, Kirby All-Star Friends, whatever, Deluxe, that game, a bit too easy. I wish it was more difficult. Apparently it gets... anyway, that's a tangent. But games should be able to challenge the player at the level that they are at. And I'm not getting any older, and... Alright, so clearly I meant to say I'm not getting any younger here. Let's not be pedantic in the comments. My reflexes aren't getting any faster. And I want to be able to enjoy a Metroid game. And so to have it be so frustratingly difficult because of controls and QuickTime events, and why are there even QuickTime events? I know they're counters, and there's way too much reliance on the counter maneuver in this game. It's just... okay. Yeah, so obviously that's frustrating, and that is my problem with this game, is that it just wasn't fun. I wasn't enjoying myself, and that's one of the other reasons that I haven't finished it, is because I just wasn't having fun. I would honestly rather just play the trilogy again, because that's more fun, even though I've played it several times. Now, with all that being said, you might think that this is a 1 out of 10 for me, but truthfully, I still think it's an above average game. I would rate it probably a 6 out of 10. But when you take that and compare it to the other games in the Metroid Pantheon, you have the trilogy, you have Zero Mission, you have Fusion, which Fusion is by far the best 2D game I've played. It just doesn't stack up. Those games are all 9s and 10s for me. So a 6 out of 10 by comparison is just kind of awful, even though maybe compared to other games it's okay. And it's really a shame, because I worry that this being on the Switch is probably a lot of people's first exposure to Metroid, and if they fall into the same boat as me where it's just frustratingly difficult, it's not really very adventurous, it's just kind of meh. Anyway, let me know your experience. Maybe you had a different one. Maybe you beat the game in 22 minutes and I need to get good. If you're going to say that, just don't and get off my channel. But I just really want Metroid to be successful, and I worry that this is going to turn people off. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and I hope to see you again in another video. Take care.